In this lesson, moving forward, I'm going to talk about the remote desktop services. In other words, how do we actually go and connect to a remote server online and then gain not only access but also control so that we can actually do things on that machine. The remote desktop services, also referred to as RDS, allows a user to take control of a remote computer or a virtual machine over a network connection. So simply, you just connect to a network remotely that's not on your own network and then be able to do things with it. Here's the brief visual architecture. So you have a client computer, you try to connect to a remote host, you provide the username and the password to connect, and this computer will do all the work and send back a live image of the desktop. So essentially, you're now going to be able to view the desktop of the remote computer just like you were sitting in front of that machine, and all that through remote connections. So if you're using a Windows computer similar to what I am, for example, it's easier to simply navigate to the remote desktop connection app and then be able to connect to a computer. So I'm going to demonstrate, in fact, connect to a sample server remotely so you can actually see how the remote desktop connection works. So from my apps in Windows 8, I'm just going to go ahead and find the remote connection. So just type remote desktop connection and it brings up various apps. So here's the app that I'm looking for. It's called the RDS, or remote desktop connection. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and what this will do is open up a dialog box and simply asks me to connect to a computer. Provide a username, for example, and I can also expand this to show more options. I can directly enter the username here, the computer IP address or the name, for example, and then click connect, and it will go out there and connect to it. I have these sample credentials for the remote desktop that you can actually use also. So let me bring those up. So here's the notepad. So I'm going to place it right here. Perfect. So you need to note this IP address. Here's the username and of course the password. So this is a demo password. You can go ahead and log in also. So the IP address, of course, is the remote server or that computer's address. And then once I click on this, I need to enter the username and password. So I'm going to go ahead and first hide these options and simply enter the IP, which is the same as 109.168.97.222. Once I enter the IP address, let's click connect. Brings up the remote desktop connection dialog box. Just gives you a warning message that makes sure that you trust the remote computer, and of course we do. So let's click connect. It's going to go out there and start to initiate the connection, and as soon as it's done, notice automatically you're connected to the server. So now you're in fact just sitting in front of the actual server running Windows 2008 server. So if I click on start, for example, notice all of these menus are changed, and here it shows me that I'm connected to this IP address on the server. And all of the menu options like admin tools, for example, I can navigate and then take a look at the configuration of the server, change the settings, and so on. So now you're connected. You can, in fact, are in full control of the server. As long as you're the administrator, you have all the rights to do anything on this particular server. So I hope this helps. It's simple to connect to a remote computer, take control, and in fact use the admin rights and so on to configure your server. So you don't have to physically be present in your server room, or in fact you could be traveling as the network administrator, for example, and then configure your entire server or your network. So you're not only in charge of the server now, but also the client computers on the network as well. To close the connection, simply click on the close button and it will give you a dialog box that says remote desktop connection will be disconnected. Simply click OK and it's done. So I hope this helps. Practice and let's move to the next lesson.